Hello everyone, this is Abdallah Al-Naami, and today I'll be giving a presentation on whether King Richard II is considered to be a tragic hero or not. I'll start my presentation with giving you a background idea, a general idea about the play, the characters, the summary. Then we'll get to the point where we discuss the point of tragedy and Richard as a tragic hero. So here we have a picture of King Richard from the BBC production of the play. So you can have an idea about what Richard maybe looked like in the past. Now, the outline. We'll talk about some information about the play, the characters, the summary, and the point of whether King Richard is a tragic hero or not. Just giving a background idea, not in details. So if you already have an idea about the play, you can skip the next three slides. And here we go. Let's start off with some information about the play. So it is a history play written, of course, by the greatest of all time, William Shakespeare. The play is to be based on a real story, the life of King Richard II of England, who ruled between 1377 and 1399, and about his downfall and how the nobles around him betrayed him, and etc. Then we'll get then it is a five-act story, typically like other Shakespearean plays, and it's worth noting that it is the first part of a tetralogy. A tetralogy means a set of four plays about mainly the same topic, and in this case it was the first part. It was followed by King Richard IV, the first part, and King Henry the Fourth, and King Henry the Fourth Part 2, and King Henry the Fifth, finally. So we move to the characters. Here I have the main characters, in my opinion. There are other characters, but not important. We have King Richard II, our main character, the hero. We have John Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster and Richard Uncle. And we have Henry Bolingbroke, Duke of Hereford and son of John Gaunt. Let's move to the summary. Act 1 opens with King Richard court as Henry Bolingbroke, son of Gaunt, challenges Thomas Morbay. It challenges King challenges Morbay because he accuses him of being involved in the recent death of the king's uncle, who's also Henry's uncle, because Henry and Richard are cousins. So Richard gives in to their demands to work out their differences and the case in one-to-one combat. So as the combat starts, the typical King Richard, he is presented in this image, being uncertain and impulsive. He stops the contest and instead Richard chooses to exile both Henry and Morbay. He banishes Morbay for life, and responding to Henry's father, he limits Henry's exile to 6 years only. So in Act 2, in line with his customary behavior, Richard is misled by his friends into poor government of the country. Those friends are the flatterers. The flatterers means that the people around the king who always praise the king and say nice things about him so they can get benefits, and he foolishly agrees with them and listen to them. So Gunt dies finally, broken by his son's banishment. Uh, then Richard decide to take all of Gunt's inheritance, all of Gunt's properties, which legally belongs to Henry Bolingbroke. So to make the matter worse, Richard leaves to Ireland. Now, Richard uses this money and this land and use this money for to fund wars in Ireland. Foolish acts from someone who is supposed to be a good, wise king. Uh, so Henry hears that his father has died and that Richard took his inheritance. He returns from exile with an invading army, and he take over almost all the properties and the country of King Richard, and all the nobles, all the allies of King Richard join Henry, and those who refused to join Henry were killed. Now, in Act 3, Richard arrives back at the from the Irish War to find out that his allies have left him, and he take refuge at Flint Castle. Richard surrenders and agrees to go to London, where the Lords will decide what should happen to him next. In Act 4 and Act 5, um, in view of the King Richard, he he was persuaded to step down in favor of Henry Bolingbroke, now King Henry the Fourth. So Richard hands over his crown in a ceremony, and Henry imprisons him in a castle. And Richard's wife, the Queen, was sent home to France. Some lords join in a plot against Henry, and one of the father of those nobles told Henry about it. So Henry now knows about the plotting against him. So he tells one of his men named Exton to that he would like him to be rid of his threats. So Exton goes to King Richard and kills him, and then Henry says that Exxon has misunderstood him. Instead of dealing with the nobles who are plotting against him, he went on and killed Richard, and he exiled Exton. And that's the end of the play. Now we move to the important part of my presentation. Uh, is King Richard a tragic hero or not? So at the start of the play, Richard is presented as an unbid king. Shakespeare makes it clear that although Richard views himself positively, he is actually weak, foolish, and arrogant, mismanaging the realm and abusing his position of power. Richard, who's supposedly who were supposed to be the wise king of the country, was foolishly led by the flatterers. Uh, Shakespeare leaves no doubt in the audience minds that Richard is a bad king. A bad king, doing foolish stuff. Richard was implicated in the death of Gloucester. He his treatment was rough with his uncle Gaunt, and illegally seizes his properties instead of giving them to Bolingbroke's. Uh, so as much as Richard delights in what comes with being a king and the kingship, he fails to assume the friendship responsibilities. Uh, Now, despite his incompetence and irresponsibility, Richard believe that he is in a position as a god substitute. So he claims that not all, and I quote, not all the water in the rough road sea can wash the palm of the anointed king, in the quote. Now, Richard's flaws are manifold. He is self-absorbed, he is self-deceiving, and all too willing to be led by flatterers. His flaws leads to his downfall at the hand of the ambitious Bolingbroke. The dying Gaunt, the old wise man and the father of Henry, tells Richard, and I quote, he is in reputation sick, and that 1,000 flatterers sit within his crown, but Richard will not listen. At the end, Richard pays the ultimate price. He loses his crown to Bolingbroke and then dies or was killed in a shameful way. Now, I know it's unlikely to the audience to feel sympathy for Richard at the start of the play, but as the fate shows itself, and the poet king reflects on his situation and dwells on his deposition, many may feel he gains self-knowledge and acquires the nobility he lacked when he actually wore the crown. The reference Richard makes to himself as a Christ-like figure is often highlighted in performances of the play via costumes and lightings, and this gives the solitary figure of the deposed king a gravitas and a spiritual significance so lacking when he first seen. Some audience may feel Richard is merely a manipulator, a showman who's good with words, who can dramatize the situation, and whose comparison of himself to Christ is arrogant and unjustified. But in my opinion, whatever the ultimate judgment is, whether the audience conclude he's moving and majestic or worthy and just say words and do foolish stuff, Richard emerges as a complex, tragic figure, and the audience is likely to maybe, in my opinion, to modify its view of him as the plays goes on. So, is King Richard a tragic hero? Yes, I believe he is a tragic hero, although I hate him. I don't know how I thought he's a good man when I recited uh, his famous speech, The Sad Stories of the Death of Kings. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Actually, about to run of time. Thank you very much.